Okay, let's talk about money. Most of us think about it as a math problem, right? All spreadsheets and formulas and data. But what if that's completely the wrong way to look at it? Today, we're diving into this amazing idea from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. And the big takeaway is this: doing well with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. It's really just a story about us, about people. Imagine somebody saying that to you. Seriously, here's $5,000. Now get out of my face. This isn't a line from a movie. This was actually said to a hotel manager who just asked a guest to pay for a $500 lamp that he'd broken. So, who on earth was this guy? Well, the man throwing wads of cash around wasn't just some spoiled rich kid. He was brilliant, a true tech executive who, back in his 20s, had designed and patented some key technology that makes Wi-Fi work. He was wildly successful, and yet his story ends in bankruptcy? How does that even happen?
I mean, this guy's story is just a masterclass in the disconnect between being smart and acting smart. He'd literally carry a brick of $100 bills around just to show it off. He and his buddies once bought thousands of dollars in gold coins just to skip them across the Pacific Ocean. Like rocks, laughing the whole time. His behavior with money was this toxic mix of deep insecurity and what the author just calls childish stupidity. And despite his genius, it was a path that could only lead to one place.
And this brings us to the really crucial question, doesn't it? If a certified genius can end up with absolutely nothing, then being smart clearly isn't the whole story. So what's the missing piece of the puzzle? Well, to figure that out, we need to meet someone else entirely. The answer to that question might just be found in the life of someone who could not be more different from our tech executive, a man by the name of Ronald James Reed. Ronald Reed lived a really simple, quiet life out in rural Vermont. For 25 years, he fixed cars at a gas station. Then, for another 17, he swept floors at JCPenney. He lived in the exact same modest house for decades, and his main hobby, chopping firewood. By every single measure, he was just an ordinary, unassuming guy. But his story, well, it has the most extraordinary ending. When Ronald Reed died back in 2014 at 92 years old, this humble janitor had a net worth of over $8 million. This completely shocked everyone who knew him. It made international news. I mean, think about it. Out of the nearly 3 million Americans who died that year, less than 4,000 had a fortune that large, and Ronald Reed, the janitor, was one of them. So what was his secret? A lottery win? A secret inheritance? Nope. His method was, well, it was almost painfully simple. He saved what little money he could. He invested it in solid blue-chip stocks, the big, stable companies. And then he just waited. For decades, he let the quiet, incredible power of compounding do its thing, and it transformed a janitor into a multi-millionaire philanthropist. Okay, so we have these two extremes, right? The broke genius and the wealthy janitor. But there's a third story that makes the contrast even sharper, even clearer, and that's the story of a man named Richard Fuscone. I mean, when you put these two side by side, the comparison is just startling. On one side, Ronald Reed, the janitor with a high school education. On the other, Richard Fusquet, a Merrill Lynch executive with an MBA from Harvard. Fuscone was so successful he retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. But then, driven by greed, he took on massive debt to expand his giant mansion, a mansion that had 11 bathrooms and 2 swimming pools. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, all that debt completely wiped him out. He declared bankruptcy. So you look at the gap in their education and their experience. I mean, it couldn't have been wider. A high school diploma versus a Harvard MBA. But in the end, none of that mattered. What mattered was their behavior. Ronald Reed was patient, Richard Fuscone was greedy. And in the financial world, patience beat greed. Hands down. And this, right here, is the core idea. This is what the author calls the psychology of money. It's not a hard science like physics or chemistry. It's a soft skill. And it's a world where how you behave is so much more important than what you know. It's about managing your own emotions like greed and fear, and just having the patience to let your plan work over a very long time. Just stop and think about that for a second. Can you imagine a janitor performing a better heart transplant than a Harvard-trained surgeon? Or designing a safer bridge than a team of top engineers? Of course not. That's absurd. But in the world of investing, these stories happen. It's this bizarre field where an amateur with the right behavioral skills can get better results than a highly credentialed expert who just loses control of their emotions. So why is finance so different? Well, it's because it's not like physics. Physics is governed by these concrete, unchanging laws. Finance, on the other hand, is governed by people's behaviors.
And that makes it messy, emotional, and full of nuance. A financial decision that seems totally logical to me might look completely crazy to you. And it's because we have different goals, different timelines, and totally different life experiences.
So, if you really want to understand why people bury themselves in debt, you don't need to study interest rates. You need to study the history of human greed and insecurity. If you want to understand why investors panic and sell everything at the bottom of a market crash, you don't need complicated math. You need to understand the agony of being afraid for your family's future. It really is psychology, not physics. And that's really the ultimate takeaway. Money isn't just about money. It's a lens. It's a powerful magnifying glass that helps explain why we do the things we do. Our fears, our hopes, our biases, our dreams, they all play out in our financial lives. It truly is one of the greatest shows on earth. And the main character in that show isn't your intellect. It's your behavior.